How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be checking out yet another piece of my Long Island Railroad equipment. We're going to be looking at the MTH Railking Scale Long Island Railroad RS1 Electric in the World's Fair paint scheme, as well as the Weaver uncatalogued Pullman Bradley passenger cars, as well as the Lionel B60 Baggage Car. These are all wonderful pieces, and I'd love to share them with you today, so let's get started. So we're going to start first with the locomotive, of course. Like I said before, this is built by MTH. This is a Railking scale model, meaning that this is a scale proportion model with premier detailing, but for the fraction of the price. I'll get into that a little more later. But first I want to talk to you guys about the history of the RS1. Alco was producing these locomotives from around 1941 and ceased production around 1954. And they were dispersed across several railroads. This is one of the more popular diesels that they ever produced. This particular one that you see before you, the Long Island Railroad received these engines around, I would say, early 50s, right around the time where these engines were stopped in being in production. The paint scheme you see was done up for the 1964 World's Fair in Queens. Reason being, the Long Island Railroad had a connection that would take you to at least Woodside, Queens, which would be a destination point to get on the World's Fair subway that would take you to Shea Stadium, the 7 train. The train itself was used a lot. The Long Island Railroad used passenger cars and advertisements to get people to and from the World's Fair. This paint scheme is very notorious. It's the most popular paint scheme that the Long Island Railroad ever had. Also introducing the Dashing Dan logo, which was one of the most popular railroad logos of all time, in my personal opinion. We're going to get more into that, but the overall history is very simple. Like I said before, the Long Island Railroad was heavily in use of Alco power by 1955, and pretty much used Alco locomotives until, I would say, the mid to end of the 60s. And then the 70s, they were starting to use other modes of power by that point. But these engines were really popular along the Long Island Railroad. You had the RS1s that you see before you here. They also had the RS3s. Anything Alco, probably the Long Island Railroad had it. These engines were notorious for smoke. The heavy emissions out of these engines were insane. These were predominantly, the RS1s you see were predominantly used for freight service, although they were seen in passenger service as well. And they just were very special locomotives to the Long Island Railroad. They're very notorious amongst fans, including myself. And now let's take a look into the model. Alright, so starting here up at the front of the locomotive, you can see right off the bat you have all this really awesome separately applied handrails and molded in detail. You have the nice LED headlight up front here. You could tell right away that this is a scale model, as I said before. You have the separately applied handrails and walkways and coupler cut bar for the coupler of the engine. You have 463 at the front of the engine, which is really cool. You have lighted number boards up front here as well. You have the end of this wave effect that is present on the engine, which is really nice. If you look on the top here, you have the separately fitted brass vents, which is really cool to see. And overall, just really cool and gives you a good impression of how nicely made that this model is. So taking a look here on the side of the locomotive, you can see all this amazing separately fitted detailing here, from the fuel tank, the separately applied paint. The trucks on these things are really nicely detailed. You have the springs, the roller bearing caps, the brake assembly. You have the bell on the very end here, which is really nice. Just loads of awesome detail you wouldn't get on a typical Railking engine. Here you have the eligible builder's plate, which is really nice. The separately fitted handrails, the nice vent details, and then you have here the access points to the motor that are separately molded in, which just looks really sharp. Very cool to see that. Other than that, just flawless all around. Now taking a look here at the rear of the engine, once again, Awesome separately fitted detailing all around. You have the really cool, awesome Dashing Dan logo, as I was telling you guys before. This is called the Route of the Dashing Commuter, because Long Island Railroad is probably the most notorious commuter railroad in the entire world. At least here in the U.S. anyway, maybe not the whole world, but regardless, it is a very busy, hustling, bustling railroad back then, and it certainly still is today. Very cool logo to see that they added that nice and sharp and crisp. You have nice cab detail. This version is a PS3 model. On newer PS3 versions of this model, they have lit interior, but for some reason mine does not have a lit interior, which is unfortunate, but that's not a deal breaker. You have two separate crew figures on both sides of the engine, which is really nice. Once again, at the end here, you have the coupler cup bars, and MU hoses, step ladders and all. You have a brake wheel here at the other end of the engine. Once again, just a very sharp model. I gotta tell you guys, this is for a Railking scale model, for a Railking model, this is one of the better models to get. It is a fully scale model, as I said before. And for the price, this is I paid about $350 for this engine, and that's a deal considering detail and the size of this engine. You're looking at dropping more than that, maybe another 100 or 200 more for a Premier version, or from Atlas or something like that. So this is a real bargain locomotive, and you get all the awesome electronics in it as well. Alright, now here's a model that I want to say majority of you guys probably haven't seen before. This is an extremely rare model, or models I should say, because I'm only going to review one. I have two others that are identical to this car. So this car is a Pullman Bradley passenger car. This is made by the company Weaver, who is no longer in production anymore. They made, obviously, if you guys have been in the hobby for a while, you would know that Weaver was notorious for making brass scale locomotives with Lionel TMCC 5 in them and stuff like that. They made terrific models, and they made some really impressive stuff over the years. And this is a special case. This is a tooling that was only done by them. This is a 21-inch passenger car. And this was an uncatalogued piece. So these are very, very rare, very notorious and sought after, but they don't get seen on the OGR forum. They don't get seen on YouTube a whole lot outside of one other guy who I bought them from. If you guys know him, he is DJ's O-Gauge Trains here on YouTube. And he was selling these from his personal collection. He had a fourth car, but he kept it for obvious reasons. He wanted to have something else out of the set. So I decided to pick them up, and I am very happy with these cars. These are stellar. They're absolutely beautiful and highly detailed. They're so big they can't even run on my layout here. I have 048 curbs. That's the biggest curb I have on this layout. And maximum a layout they require 054 or larger. So in the end of the video, I'll show you these running at my club's layout. These are stellar to see in all their glory. That being said, I love to share these with you, so let's take a look at them. So taking a look at the front of the car, you can see you have the separately fitted diaphragms here that are really nice. If you look inside here, you have the safety gate that would in real life pull close or open to prevent passengers from entering between cars, which is pretty cool. You have an opening door here on the side, which is spring-loaded, so it'll shut right back, which is really nice. You have the separately fitted handrails here and here. You have the safety tread on the stepladder here going into the coach, which is really nice. You also have the Dashing Dan logo here on the side, on this side, as well as the rear side of the car. If we take a look at the undercarriage of the car, you can see not too much molded on or separately fitted detailing on this car overall. It's more of a streamlined coach. However, you can see the chests here, which is pretty nice, as well as you got this really cool air compressor here for the cars, which is really nice. And then you have the separately fitted trucks with the brake assembly and everything, and the roller bearing caps. The roller bearings don't actually move on these cars, but that's okay. Beautifully detailed nonetheless. These cars are LED lit, which is really nice. I know a lot of cars back in the day when these were getting produced were just starting to get LEDs, so Very nice feature, nonetheless. There's no figures in these cars, but that's okay. In the future, I'm going to do a video showcasing how to put figures in cars like these. So stay tuned for that. But overall, beautiful car. They are absolutely wonderful. The paint really steals the show. So let's move on to the baggage car. All right, so last up we're going to take a look at here today is the Lionel B60 Baggage Car. This is a recent release from Lionel, and there are a few other guys out there who have made reviews on these, but these are so cool. I have to share it with you today. They're loaded with detail and really cool LED lighting features, so let's check it out. So starting at the front of the car, you could see amazing right off the bat. This all over the car is these awesome rivet detailing. Just absolutely really sharp and really cool to see that. You have this molded in door, wood door that looks really cool. You have the diaphragm here. And then you have all this loaded separately fitted detail, all these handrails and chains and so forth. You have the separately fitted step ladder to get into the car. Really, really cool. Something to note, you can't see it really, but you got this knob here and this knob here. This is for the LED lighting that I'm going to showcase in a minute. Basically, this has directional lighting. So you have the red markers that will show up here or on the other side of the car, and there's a switch underneath the car that will allow you to change which direction the car is facing, which is really nice. So taking a look here at the sides of the car, you can see you have the very nice and crisp Long Island on the very top. The doors are molded in. They do not open, but that's because there has different electronics in this car, preventing you from doing that. But you have the nice porthole windows on both sides. You have the 7715 on the side here, which is really cool. The gray paint scheme on this car is really sharp. It's just mysterious looking, very unique and different. Here you also have the trucks that are really nicely detailed. They're die-cast metal trucks, which is always a plus. If you look here on the other side of the car, you have all this awesome brake assembly and detail. If I flip the car over, you can see the controls I was telling you guys about that let you control as you want the markers on or off, as well as which direction they're facing. And again, you can see this really sharp brake assembly and air compressors to keep the car going. Beautifully detailed car underneath. Just a wonderful addition to a passenger train. I should note that the baggage cars on the Long Island Railroad weren't used typically for baggage. Given that this was a commuter railroad and you weren't traveling too far, the cool thing about the Long Island Railroad, they allowed their riders to sit, or stand, I should say, inside these cars and bring their bicycles in them. So they used to have bicycles in these cars if you're going to the beach or something like that. They were multi-purpose cars, which was really unique. So here's a look at the other side of the baggage car here. Not too much different going on here than you saw on the other side. However, this side does have the brake wheel, which is really nice. Once again, you have the diaphragm, which is really cool. And then you have the molded in wood door again. Very nice to see. So what I'm going to do now, before I wrap up the video, is turn on the lights for you guys and just give you an idea how awesome the lights look on this car. So real quick, here's a nice little overview of how the lights look on this car. Very, very sharp. And my favorite part of this whole car is those awesome red markers on the back. Just absolutely sharp. Really, really cool when it's going down the track. And especially if it's on an end of a train, like how I do on my passenger trains. Very, very cool. That being said, that's going to wrap up the review. Let's check out the engine running. I'll see you guys next time.